Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I'm your host, and joining me, as always, is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how are you doing, buddy?
The go-to podcast compadre
Go-to.
at your service, Mr. Good.
Yes, a self kind of given title, but I've always liked it, and I've even kind of given it to Levi, who's not here today. He was busy, and for various reasons, Joe didn't get a chance to watch Attack of the Clones, so people who've kind of kept up with our Star Wars, movie watching marathon that we're doing, we're taking a break from that a little bit here, but we're celebrating as well, because today marks the 200th episode. Believe it or not, 200 episodes of this show, the one you're listening to right now. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of shows, and I was calculating it, and I think I've been on it about 200 times, and Joe's been on it about 185, maybe even more, 187. That's pretty good. So Joe, you get the award for being on more than everybody else. So congratulations.
Yes, I had that one unlocked, Jimmy.
Yes, you did have it unlocked. And sorry, keep going.
I was gonna say our 200th episode just wouldn't be proper without a little spotlight for our sponsor, Canada Dry Ginger Ale, ice cold, crisp, refreshing. Canada Dry.
I really wish you had one with you right now. Dang it.
I don't drink it as much anymore because their sponsorship kind of fell through.
Yeah.
They need to get back on their game,
It's funny. I never noticed the Canada Dry ads before we started talking and doing this show. And now that I've seen them for a while, it's like some Canada Dry guru or something. And I was like, oh, Joe could do this way. It was kind of like an Old Spice vibe to it. I was like, forget about it.
I'm just saying they need to adopt that slogan, ice cold, crisp, cool, refreshing, whatever. How do I say it? I forgot it myself. Shit.
That's okay. You're still glorious. And as a prize, besides getting my undying respect and gratitude and love, we're going to play a little game. Now, for people who've been watching the show for a heck of a long time, you know that we like to entertain, but we also like to educate at the same time. And we are going to have Joe try to figure out which animal I'm talking about. I don't remember that. We are playing it. Joe was talking about before the show. We get old times. All right. I'm going to do my best to be as vague as possible with this information. I'm going to give it.
If it's some weird breed of dolphin that I'll never get, I'll be pissed.
Fun little fact: it was the Irrawaddy dolphin, and that is actually one of the names of the boats for the Jungle Cruise or something. It's like the Irrawaddy Irma.
Is that Australian or something?
I think it's South American, maybe, or maybe it is Australian. Clearly, I didn't pay attention. But yeah, so they have a thing and then a person's name after it. It's stuff like that. Anyway, all right, Joe, are you ready?
Born ready. Let's
okay.
get this.
Here we go. Joe, I gotta look up these facts because I want to make sure that I'm not lying.
They got to be accurate. You could mislead me. I could guess bear when really it's a sloth.
I would never. Okay, this animal stands at a whopping 3 1/3 feet tall. That's 15 kilometers tall, everybody, for people in Europe.
What?
Yeah, they're like, no, it's not. So
definitely
3 1/3 feet tall. And can weigh anywhere from 250 pounds all the way up to a whopping 600. They eat. I can't really talk about what they eat too much unless we really get into it. Okay. But I will say this, Joe. You are familiar with it.
Is it weird that I already have an idea?
I want you to hit me with your idea. I want to know it.
No, I'm not going to guess.
No, okay. What? Do you want me to give you another hint?
Please.
Another hint it is. Okay. Here we go.
3 feet tall, really heavy.
I'm going to give you... This is the last hint I'm giving you because I think it gives you a little bit of information. Their young will nurse for up to 3 years.
Oh, never mind.
What were you thinking at first?
At first, I was thinking Komodo dragon. I was thinking something that stood about 3 feet tall but weighed a lot.
I can't it freaks me out because that was the original thing I was gonna pick tonight. I was gonna pick Komodo dragon. I was like, he's gonna get that right away. Komodo dragon's a really good pick though. Nice pick.
Wow.
Nice pick. Yeah.
But the fact that was already on your list to begin with and could have been it, maybe you picked something close on the island of Tasmania.
I it's geographically. He's like, well, if he was here, it must be close. It's like
Right,
Battleship.
because isn't that where Komodo dragons are from? Is it Tasmania or Madagascar?
There's this specific Komodo island, I believe.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to look up Komodo dragon facts. We're sticking to one animal here. It's not Komodo dragon.
But it's mammal because you said nurses.
Very good, Joe. Yes, I wanted to give you that little hint. All right.
Okay. Do I get a couple questions to try and get closer?
You get a couple questions, of course. Yeah, and the fact that you haven't guessed it immediately means that I've done my job slightly better than I used to.
Yeah, nurses for 3 years doesn't really do it for me. I mean,
yeah. Well, it does it for this animal, but I'm.
Yeah. Comment below if you got it already without looking it up. Is it aquatic?
No. I wouldn't say it's primarily aquatic. No, I would not. No, it's not. No.
Oh, not primarily, but it
I can't say. Well, okay, it goes in the water, but it doesn't live like in the water. You know, we're not. It's not
nurses for up to 3 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a nurse shark either. These are animal jokes. Animal jokes. I got them.
That was a bad joke. If I
Thank
heard
you.
one.
You're right. It was. These are the. I mean, I don't know. I've been out of practice on this one, and I tried to remember the animals we've done in the past. What if this was Irrawaddy dolphin again? No, I'm just kidding. It's not. It's not. How many times can I say Irrawaddy dolphin on this episode?
What?
I don't know.
Is this animal carnivorous?
This animal does eat meat. Yes. Joe's like, giraffes are out. No.
Yeah, I like how you leave it up to like it could be omnivorous, like a bear.
I'm not saying it is, and I'm not saying it's not.
All right, the whole podcast is going to be me trying to guess this.
I can speed it up if you want.
It has fur in what color? Black or brown?
It has fur in what color? I would say brown.
Nurses for up to 3 years, for crying out loud.
Yep.
Grizzly bears, they don't nurse for that long, do they? They don't stick around there.
I'm going to give you one more hint, Joe.
Please.
Front claws that can go up to 4 inches in length.
Grizzly bear.
Is that your final answer?
Well, if I get it wrong, I don't want it. I want another try at it, but that's my first guess.
Wait, is that it's your final answer, or it's? I mean,
some sort of brown bear. It's a bear. No, it's 3 feet tall. My bad.
Grizzly or something else?
No, it's got to be 3 feet tall. It's not a wolverine. It is indigenous to what continent?
North America. I'm sorry. This is great. I'm doing
3 1/3 feet tall. Jesus,
yeah.
Peach. Brown fur.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Is it primarily brown fur?
I'm waiting for you to just come up with like it's an off the reservation moose who's turned on his brother.
It's a mini moose, just like moose. Miniature pony.
Yeah.
Mini horse. Dude, like the most identifying feature is the 3-year nursing thing. That doesn't ring a bell with me. I don't know.
I didn't think this was going to be the thing that threw you off so far, but I mean, okay, I'll take it. You know, yeah. And no offense by off the reservation. I just mean a moose that has gone rogue. Which I don't know how many meat-eating moose are out there, but I have heard of ones that slam into your cars in Canada and they will like take out your car and they walk away. Moose doesn't care. Moose is like whatever, man. Just a car.
Yeah. Those meese, man, they are mean.
I'll give you another hint.
Please.
Has a hump on its back that is actually a large muscle that is used to carry the power through their forelimbs. And I know what you're thinking. Also, not a mini camel that just moved to North America and developed a taste for flesh. He's working through it. So many things to think about here. I'm interested, if anyone's heard this to this point and you've figured it out, or leave your comment down below with what you thought it was, and then if you're right, then you can be like, I was right. But if you weren't right, then be like, oh, okay. I see.
Hump on its back, power through the forelimbs. North America. Brown fur, mammal, carnivorous.
Trust yourself. Trust yourself, Joe.
Uh,
I got him. I can't believe it. And this, I'm proud of myself. It's not a super tricky one because that's what I used to do with this. If you guys have ever watched Joe in the past, I give him like a hyper, like specific one, or like it was way too easy.
yeah.
So
and sometimes the more obvious, the more difficult. You know.
I'm so proud. I was thinking about doing. Oh, I can't say that either because that would help him. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you give me something more geographical related? Like you would see one of these if you were taking a tour of Yellowstone.
Maybe, probably not. You probably have to go more north.
Oh, Canada, Alaska. Oh, and a sea otter? No, 3 1/3 feet tall.
That's still a great guess, though. I mean, if it was, I guess, standing on its hind legs, maybe. No, still, that wouldn't be probably that tall. But great guess.
Yeah, I think it would be. Sea otters are decently sized. Okay, give me something more.
All right. So let's see here.
There are no more hints. If you haven't gotten it by now, you're an idiot.
All right, this will probably give it away. All right. Joe, its normal food consumption per day is roughly 90 pounds. Come on.
Like, are we talking a mountain lion?
No, but that's a great guess.
Because, I mean, the hump on the back thing, no, nursing for 3 years, it wouldn't do it. And it's not really a hump on the back, but they do have a higher, they got that forelimb strength.
Yeah, that's true.
90 pounds a day, too. I mean, they don't eat every single day.
I'm going to need a final answer.
Oh, dude. Canadian, Alaskan, something like that, north of Yellowstone.
Probably, yeah. Watch, there'll probably be some in Yellowstone. I don't know. I like how Yellowstone is like the make or break. It's like if it is in Yellowstone, I know exactly what it is, but if not.
You got anything else to give me? Anything?
Walks on all fours, usually.
600 pounds. You said brown. 4-inch claws. It's
like the end of like a murder mystery episode. He's like, it has to be.
If this animal is to stand on 2 legs by pedal, would it be approximately 7 feet to 9 feet tall?
Perhaps, and we're not talking about your mother-in-law. I got her. I did it. I'm just kidding. She's nice.
I mean, all I can think of is a grizzly bear, but they have those in Montana. Yellowstone has grizzly bears.
Okay, I need a final answer, man.
Oh, dude, it's all I got right now.
Grizzly bear, your final
Wolverine.
Answer?
Wolverine.
Wait, Wolverine's your final answer?
Wolverine's my final answer.
That is incorrect. I'm sorry. The correct answer was grizzly bear. Yeah.
Oh, I'm mad.
I did it. I got him.
Yeah, because of the hump on the back, yes. Powerful forelimbs, and the claws, it all checks out. But I didn't realize they nursed for 3 years. Not to mention, yeah, they're in Yellowstone, pal.
Well, I haven't been to Yellowstone. I said that they could have been. I said they probably more so in the north is what I'm reading here, but I also said they could be there. So apparently they're primarily found in British Columbia, Western Alberta, Yukon, Northwest Territories, things like that. I'm getting this all from bearsmart.com, which seems like a decent source.
I know they have them in Montana to a certain degree.
But not...
And I've heard of them in Yellowstone,
is
why
you gotta go north. Also, right. Apparently, the population is dwindling, and it's apparently about with only about 1,200 grizzly bears found in the lower 48 United States. And there's about 50,000 altogether, and they're still hunted for sport, I guess, up in Canada. I don't know when this article is dated, so this hopefully.
Yeah, in Alaska, I believe, to a certain degree.
That's messed up. It's like, man, like. I'm sorry, grizzly bears.
And I've never looked up to see what's the difference between a grizzly bear and a brown bear. Is a brown bear just a generalization of all brown bears? Like, so grizzly, Kodiak. I know there's a Russian brown bear.
We're looking it up. They say it's regional. Yeah.
Okay.
From what I'm seeing here, potentially those that are on the coast are known as brown bears, where grizzlies are a subspecies of a brown bear. And then it starts to get
What
real
about a
scientific.
Pizzly? Pizzlies are a thing.
Oh, like the polar bear grizzlies? Yeah.
The hybrid, yeah.
And then we get into the Kodiak bears, which are one of my favorites. Those things are freaking.
Which I think they regional based on they're on Kodiak Island by Alaska.
And that's again like the whole Komodo dragon, Tasmanian devil kind of like they have their own island. It's like this island is
so. And you're right, they're still hunted for sport. I know, like in Alaska, they get permits for it. Canada as well, and I mean you'll see the pictures of them, hunters with their prize. And
all I'm saying
it just does nothing for me.
If you want to be a real hunter, do it with your bare hands, baby. And that's what I mean, pun intended. Go out there, go get them. Go get them with your not a big gun or something. Yeah, that's what I say. If the bear takes you, that's all I'm trying to say. Also, watch Bear Grylls sometimes. Another pun. And when he's walking around Alaska, and he just walks there. He's like, "Yo, bear." He's like, you just gotta yell all the time, just in case. He's with the whole camera crew, but still, like, part of him's like, at 1 second, a freaking grizzly, like a 500-pound grizzly, just gonna just take him.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Up to 600 pounds. Now, the funny thing is, I mean, I've seen there are bears that they've got that are over 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But this is more of these were averages. These were averages.
All right, I'll go with it. You tripped me up with the max 600-pound thing. I knew a guy, he went bear hunting in Wisconsin, local guy, friend of mine. His dad, a big bear hunter, and 1 year with his tag, he ended up getting I think it was a 580-pound black bear.
Oh.
Which for a black bear, that's a big effing bear.
Yeah, it's a big bear.
Yeah. Big Bear Chased Me. John Candy and the Great Outdoors. Favorite movie of all time, by the way, since we're on critical reviews. Favorite movie, go.
Lord of the Rings, all of them. Can I put them together? It's the greatest. Which is funny because I had some people ask if we would ever play Kill Your Babies, Joe, which is a game that's kind of going around entertainment-wise where you can play with like games or movies, but you and I would sit down with like 50 games, 50 movies, and then we would start crossing them off one at a time and try to whittle it down to like one movie or one game or something. But because I know you and you know me, you could like target specific things where it's like, all right, this game is, cut from existence forever, or this movie is gone, you've never seen it and you'll never see it. And I was thinking that might work for games, but movies, we'd get down to like Jurassic Park and Lord of the Rings, we just like look at each other and be like, I don't
think we can go any further.
Yeah, I'd be like, sounds good. We'll stick with
The Great Outdoors of John Candy and Dan Aykroyd will forever be one of my favorites.
I know
it can't be beat. And the bald-headed bear is in that movie.
Well, I know we've discussed it for at least 2 hours on the
big bear. Big bear chase him.
Anyway, besides animals on this show, we love to talk about movies, video games, TV, theme parks, music, anything in entertainment that we love so very, very much. And this week we're
indubitably.
Yes, indubitably. But we're going to do kind of a throwback, kind of the episodes we used to do, and talk about a few different things. And first up is something that I really wanted to get into just a little bit, but that is the new Morbius trailer, which has been out by the time you see this, probably about a week or so. But I wanted to talk about it. Joe is a big fan of dark, gritty, ominous, foreboding types
all
of
things. My favorite words. All my favorite
I feel like
words.
This trailer is a little bit of all of that. And if you haven't seen it, I would recommend go watch it quick, because we're going to talk about it in length and there might be some spoilers in there. So if you don't want to, I hopefully will have the timestamps, even though I forgot to start the timer over here. So I'm going to have to edit that later. That's future Jimmy's problem. I'm so sorry, friend. But I do that sometimes. And then I look back, I'm like, but anyway. So Morbius, Joe, before we started the show, Joe kind of mentioned to me, he's like, I don't really know a lot about Morbius. And to be honest, I didn't know a ton about him before the trailer, and I've done a little research on him in the past when they kind of announced it.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I knew Jimmy would do his research, and I literally said before we started, I didn't do any, because for those listeners that know nothing of him, it'll be good for them to hear me ask the questions, and you kind of define and lay it out for them.
I will try.
So, who is Morbius? Give us a general synopsis. He's a sick guy, goes and gets vampire treatment and becomes Dracula.
That's
Close?
that's very close. Yeah, Michael Morbius basically was this guy who was suffering from this horrible degenerative like kind of blood disease and was doing all these different types of cure-alls to fix it, and eventually became a vampire in the process. And this is a foe of Spider-Man's that one of those longtime foes, but maybe not as beloved or as well known as somebody like Green Goblin or Venom or somebody like that.
Sure,
But
because he's too relatable to like a general Halloween horror
yeah,
character.
exactly. And the fun thing I think that comes with Morbius is the idea of kind of tying like Blade and Spider-Man together more so, kind of the supernatural elements of Marvel, even though this is still part of kind of like the Sony Spider-Man universe they're trying to do. There's a few ties though into the MCU kind of in this trailer, which gets really weird and we can talk about in a second. But anyway, so I'm not sure if Spider-Man's going to be in this movie or not, but it's a focus on him and a very much kind of usually a villain for Spider-Man, but I'm sure can be an anti-hero. Very similar Venom vibes I'm getting, not only from just the character, but the trailer itself. Like, even the logo looks kind of like Venom, to be honest with you. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of
Yeah.
seeing some similarities here. But I just like start off here with like the feeling. Joe, how do you feel about this? What do you think so far of like Jared Leto and kind of the overall movie from what you've seen?
I think it's a good role for Jared Leto. I think it's going to have more artistic qualities. I think it'll just be better for him as opposed to like the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sony did Suicide Squad, correct?
No, they didn't. No, that was WB, Warner
Oh yeah,
Brothers.
yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
and it's DC for crying out loud.
yep.
Anyway,
But
either
still,
way, is like a comic book character portrayal. I think this is more. I don't want to say in his wheelhouse, but I think just his style and charisma. I think it'll lend itself better to something more of like a brooding, complex character. I think
mm-hmm.
that's the key word here is complex, and struggling with the disease and everything. Clearly, a relationship of some sort based on the trailer that we see.
Sure.
Jared Leto has acting chops, and I think with some of those qualities, the triangle of elements here, maybe I see some love elements, or I feel like there are some love elements. Because there's this female character that's kind of bouncing back and forth with them. I feel like there's something there. Maybe
Probably.
they don't totally show it off, but yeah, I think questions of humanity and things of that nature. I think it'll lend itself well to his abilities, and his aesthetic, the way he looks as a human. I
Sure.
mean, the flowing locks and all that
Yeah.
good stuff. I mean, I think it's going to play well for the character he's portraying here. Um, I do like the vibes.
Yeah.
Somewhat dark, ominous, gritty, all those good, tantalizing words. The only thing I will say that kind of takes me back just a little bit, puts me back in my seat, and not in a good way,
Yeah.
is it feels a little bit like a ripoff of Dracula.
Like Dracula Untold?
Kinda. You get the same vibes,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's hard, and probably why this character isn't as beloved in the Spider-Verse. Um, there are some pros and cons here. So that's a con. I think it's too similar in likeness to something like Dracula Untold. The guy isn't sick, but he needs power to help his people, so he goes and he gets his well, guy's sick, needs power to cure himself,
Yeah.
not help his people, but cure himself, does this crazy stuff, gets attacked by bats with an open wound, and whatever, between his science tricks and all that shit, he becomes a vampire. It's like, why call yourself Morbius? Oh, because that's his actual name, Dr.
Yeah,
Morbius or
yeah.
something. Yeah. Well, middle name Dracula. Anyway, um,
Where's Luke Evans when you need him?
yeah, right. But what I see thus far, I do see quality. I think him playing the sickly character, well done. Anything when you ask Jared Leto to show emotion, he does it. I mean, the guy, music talent, but on screen as well. The Joker, yeah, not well received, but at the same time, if you if you look at him portraying the Joker, that is quite the undertaking. I mean, he embodied that character. He was that character until the shooting was done.
Maybe a little too much.
Maybe a little too much, but that's how serious he takes it, and I like it. When he plays a role, he's serious about it and he embodies it.
Sure.
And I think if he can do half of what he did there with this, I think it'll be good. I just think the whole setup for that Joker and everything was a little too zany and out there for people, especially coming somewhat fresh off of Heath Ledger's performance as Joker and all that stuff. It's hard to follow that up, right? And that's what people liked and kind of wanted, I feel like. Something more along those lines.
But it's okay. That's in the past now. He's moving on to something new.
It is. It's in the past now. I think learning experience nonetheless. But for me, it's a good gauge to know that he can take a totally out there character like a doctor who becomes a vampire through, scientific means, kind of a deal. It gives me confidence that he can do it and do it right.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. The fact that they have a little bit of that Marvel injection here is great, and that they can tie it to the Spider-Man Spider-Verse, if you will. Not the animated movie. But...
Yes, not Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, they're tying it directly to that. No.
But they're starting to set something up where they almost have kind of if you think about it, Venom, Morbius. They've really kind of set up a couple dark bads for Spider-Man, and they still have a harness on Spider-Man.
Kind of.
Yeah. But if they can still play ball with Marvel and have that little bit of an injection of Marvel ingredients, I think good things to come. It's a matter of whether they sever those ties or not if they ruin it. The thing is, Dracula Untold. I hate to relate it to that and bring that up as an example, but it's pretty darn close, and it's kind of the same vibes, right? Only it's modern day.
Sure.
So, and vibe with me here for a minute, Jimmy.
Oh, there's a good
Dracula
word.
Untold.
Yeah.
Not a bad movie.
Not bad at all. Yeah. No, I liked it.
Yeah. Oh shit! I'm losing my train of thought. Where was I going with
this? That's okay. Do you want me to go now? Let's say.
Well. Okay. No, I remember my train of thought here. So. Yeah, what I'm saying is not a bad movie. What were some complaints about it? Maybe it was somewhat standard.
Sure.
And a little formulaic.
Yeah.
And too short.
Yeah.
Too short.
Yeah.
Quick cut, done, bam.
Yeah.
There aren't any really try hard moments in between. There's not a lot of development. It's pretty short and sweet and to the point.
Yeah.
Action. Here he goes with all his bats doing shit, right?
Yeah.
I don't want that out of this movie. Make it more complex. Make us relate to this character more. Make us invest in him. Like, I want him to get better.
Sure.
What makes him a villain or a foe to Spider-Man? What makes him bad? Is it because he can't control his hunger and he's hurting people because of it, but doesn't want to, but it's his nature now. He kind of has to. And, maybe he needs help more than he needs, that headbutting or foe per se. He needs a friend to help him.
Yeah.
And somebody that would help him would have to be powerful to, not get bit, right?
Yeah.
but I want that development. I don't want it to be all go, 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 go. I want it to be slow, unfold. I want those spurts of action and quick pace, but I want it to always come back and simmer.
That's a tall order.
Because it is, but you need those moments in order to really marinate the audience. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
We need that exposure. We need those slow moments to really kind of let it absorb. Yeah, I mean, is there more to it than that? I mean, sure, but I think in general, you really need to. I want to marinate in the movie. Okay. I don't want it to be so quick and dry that it's just like, okay, that was a bunch of cool action, a lot of CG. Okay, great. It was cool, but it like Dracula Untold left me wanting more.
Yeah.
I wanted there to be more to it, more substance.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
And I hope we get that out of this movie. If so, I think it can be good. They're already teasing the tie-in between who they have at the end, the Vulture.
Yes, Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. So that's cool. Give us a little bit more of that to tie in. Maybe give a nod to Venom somewhere in there. Still at large, something of that nature. Sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe a news clipping. Who cares? I don't know. Even so, Spider-Man. Give us something, right?
There is.
We don't have to see him in flesh, but
yeah. Did you not see the we'll get into it. I'll get into it. We'll get into it.
Okay, let's get into it. I've kind of gone through my deal of it. I think I think it has what it takes. What I want from it will make it what it needs to be.
Sure.
And that is a little bit more. A donut that has all the stuffing, not just a thin layer.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Stuffing. I didn't think you go donut, but that's fine. I like it. I'll be honest with you. I think this movie is going to be just like Venom. I think they have a formula now that did really well, and it paid off very, very well for them. And not
what's
only,
the rating?
What do you mean? What's the
the rating?
I don't know if it's R or not. Would you mind looking that up? I
will
remember. I will
continue on.
Anyway, I get just a little bit of like the Batman Begins vibes because he's like in the cave, all the bats. Maybe that's just like a Batman thing. I just couldn't help but think about that. But I think it's going to be very much like, he's got this problem, he transforms, and then he's kind of like dealing with that problem. And this presents itself kind of like Venom does, where it's like, oh, there's this new aspect to my personality that requires me to act in a very different way than I normally would have in the past. And that's what's going to, cause the friction between him and that potential love interest and anybody else he knows in his life. There's even an action sequence where it seems like they're on a boat or they're like in a hallway with a bunch of pipes where it's kind of like foggy and stuff, or there's a bunch of steam coming out. And all I could think was like, oh yeah, this reminds me a lot of that Venom sequence in the hotel or in that lobby of that one building. So I'm not surprised. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just interested to see if it does something pretty different. And those two things that we see there, like we talked about there at the end, Joe says that you see Michael Keaton briefly, probably reprising his role as Adrian Toomes as the Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, the first Spider-Man movie that came out a while ago, like the new with Tom Holland, standalone, I should say. Civil War was the first time we saw him. And then there's actually a really weird thing. There's he's walking. Morbius is walking kind of in his prison jumpsuit with like his stuff. He walks by a wall that shows Spider-Man up on the wall, like kind of painted up there like a stencil or a sticker, and it says murderer across it. There's two interesting things about this. First thing, it's actually part potentially of a loading screen from the Spider-Man PS4 game that came out last year, a year and a half ago now is the time of this recording. But the thing that's even more interesting about that is it's the Sam Raimi Spider-Man suit that they put on there. Now, people have speculated about this, and maybe by the time this episode airs, it'll become more like, apparent what the reason for that was. Is Sony just kind of screwing around and they just put that on there to trip people up? Is it a direct callback to Spider-Man, like the Raimi trilogy? Is it kind of a nod to the PS4 game? Is it trying to tie in Spider-Man to this universe? Obviously, if Adrian Toomes is in here and he's playing the Vulture, you kind of get the feeling that it's probably going to tie into the Tom Holland Spider-Man stuff. So it was kind of a weird thing to throw in there, and maybe somebody just had, in that world, there's lots of different versions of how Spider-Man looks, and that somebody just plastered that on there and wrote murderer. I don't know. That's the weird thing about this, because you're like, okay, because after the events of Spider-Man Far From Home, people, spoilers here for that, there's the potential that he made it look like Spider-Man is a killer. Not necessarily the case. So who knows? I don't know. So it is more intriguing, I think, in that sense, as opposed like with the kind of the larger universe than maybe Venom was, because Venom felt very kind of insulated and by itself. But Joe makes a great point. You make a great point. If they do, nod to Spider-Man and potentially to Venom, this could lead to my end goal, my dream, and I think Sony's been wanting to do this for so many years, is to make their own version of the Avengers, but do a Sinister Six film where you kind of take and, you make your own version of the Sinister Six that's going to be different than the comics and the TV shows, and that might be edgy characters like Venom, like Morbius, like, Vulture, kind of putting them together. I just don't know how that's going to work. So it might even be something small where it's like, oh, you see Adrian Toomes was in prison at the same time as Michael Morbius, and they met that way. That might be all it is. He could meet Carnage in prison, sure. Or anything could happen. So that little snippet out of context makes all of us go, and that's how Sony reacts and engages and says, like, okay, so what do we make that makes people more interested in this?
You do have a good point. Edgier characters.
Yeah.
I almost prefer, Venom somewhat mainstream. I mean, he's probably one of the most popular, right up next to Green Goblin and Dr. Ock.
Yeah. For sure.
But they are edgier in that they're maybe a little more grotesque, horrific. Mm-hmm. And they can, lay out those vibes in the theater, which is maybe, I'm using all my trigger words and I like them for a reason, but ominous. I think having that ominous feeling about your villains and scary.
What did you think of his face? Did you like his face?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, grotesque horror. That's edge of your seats type stuff, as opposed to like, Green Goblin. I mean, we know what we're getting with that. Great and all. But these guys are a little more like popping out of the shadow, kind of like jump scary, if you will, to where you're more edge of your seat. They instill a little bit of fear in you because they're basically a monster.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally a monster.
In a true sense of the word. So.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm interested in this. I don't think it's one of those things where if I saw more trailers, I don't think it'll sell me or not sell me. I'll probably see it in theaters, probably, I would imagine. But
I think so. I think it's right up my alley. I'm always about that kind of horror stuff. But I'm on that same plane with you. I don't think I need to see more.
Yeah.
I like the cast. I like the basis for the plot, which we don't really know anything. This is only a teaser, but the whole Dracula vibe gets me.
Sure.
So, yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to run.
Oh, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm used to it. I'm interested, though. I hope they do something to differentiate it from the marketing of Venom. And it looks kind of like that same. It's very dark, and it's kind of got that edge vibe to it. But I'm just really hoping that they can play ball with Sony, or Sony can play ball, I should say, with Marvel and Disney and all that stuff, because it would be really great to see actors like Jared Leto and such as I can't think of his name right now. Eddie Brock. Wait, what's his name?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. There's so many Toms now. Tom Hardy. I would love to see them brought into more of the Disney stuff, especially now that we're in a weird time after Endgame, where Doctor Strange, which we talked about briefly, just lost its director, and they talked about this being one of the it's supposed to be kind of more of a scary potentially movie, but it's a Marvel film and it's PG-13, so they can only go so scary. But I was hoping if Blade is in the future, this would be a great time to have Morbius and other creatures like Venom get tied in to the rest of this universe, especially if it's going to get weirder and creepier and more kind of less cosmic and more like supernatural, which I think would be really cool. I would love to see that. Plus, it's been a long time since we've seen a lot of money, I think, injected into a vampire film to this level, and I know that this movie and Blade will probably be pretty high budgets. I would imagine they're going to be like, we're going to try our best to make this compelling,
And this is a vampire film, but I almost use the term vampire loosely.
Yeah.
It's you define him as a vampire because he has all the characteristics as one, but I'm sure he's going to have a reflection in the mirror. He's not going to have all the stereotypes. It's more like the blood deal
I
and
think,
things that
yeah,
he's almost got like they showed off like did he have like teleportation type powers or was like all that smoky stuff?
that's kind of
Poof,
a
poof.
vampire thing too. I think it's kind of like a Bamf, like a Nightcrawler does, but yeah, I think his title's
Yeah,
like the Living Vampire. So that's another problem too, is if you inject a vampire, and you're right, Joe. You kind of have to talk about, all right, what strengths is he going to have. A lot of people know what vampire strengths are. What weaknesses do they have? Some people know about some of those weaknesses. Maybe he has a specific one. Is it can he not be invited inside? Is silver a problem? Is holy
yeah,
stuff a problem?
yeah.
Like, you got to
I'm
start
sure
like
garlic doesn't
developing.
hurt him. He probably eats
Yeah,
spaghetti at night with
yeah,
garlic bread.
he totally every night he loves a good marinara. He loves it. It would be that'd be great if Jared Leto's like, I really like this character, but I thought, what if he was like really Italian, like and it was like oh no, and you like can't tell him no. You're like, yeah man, whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Just I like to think of him as slightly different from like your generalization of a vampire. He has all the characteristics and the makings of one, but he's more than that. You know.
sure.
I at least I hope. I hope they don't just blatantly say he's a vampire.
I think they might. Well, they might, but it's kind of like with Blade, where it's like Blade's also a vampire, but a different kind of vampire.
Yeah, it's a
So
different thing. I mean, this guy was made through him trying to cure himself, and then it leads him to something to do with bats. Like he's researching bats, and then he goes to that cave, and
yeah.
they just freaking envelop him. And what does that do? I mean, if that could turn me into a vampire, send me in, coach.
No, Joe, no, you don't need that kind of. Oh
Dude,
no, we don't need to let you have immortality. No,
I got a lot of people on the list, and I bet you their blood is just great.
he would run towards it. He'd be like, "Where's the bat cave?" And he just starts.
I wouldn't even
attacks
drink it. I just leave it on the floor.
Anyway, that's Morbius. Getting morbid here, talking about Morbius. But I'm interested. Besides us, kind of. Before we get to this, Joe, hypometer, where are you? 0 to 10.
Hypometer. I do want to see more trailers to really gauge it. I will see this, but I think it has all the right makings, the right lead, and tied into Spider-Man. Hopefully, I mean it's got to be to some extent. I think it's got to be good, man. My hypometer is sitting at like a simmering 85, 8.5.
Okay, sure. Good. I'm going to be at a nice regular old 7 or 70 degrees. We'll see how it goes. I liked Venom. I thought it was pretty good. I know some people are kind of like, but I feel like this is going to be pretty similar to that. And I'm not surprised because that movie did very well. And if they're going to kind of market it the same way and kind of appeal to that same crowd, as long as Venom 2 isn't coming out right now, I think it's in development, then I could see this kind of being a placeholder and also a nice tie-in potentially to the rest of the Marvel stuff and the Spider-Man stuff, because that's what I'd love to see. Because in this trailer, they're like, from the studio that brought you like Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Venom. I was like, they brought, I guess, but like Marvel Studios did. I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to give it to them. Like, it's like, okay. But
now, hear me out real quick. So you bring that up, the similarity to Venom and the formulaic type of feeling of it. Like I said originally when we started talking about it, I hope it, because what I wanted out of Venom, I liked Venom. I genuinely liked it, and I love that character, and half of the fun was just seeing Venom like outright. Like, that's how we wanted to see him. But I wanted more complexity from it, the story in general and everything, except for, it was just a bad doctor that becomes another one, and they battle. Whoop-de-frickin-do. It was like a Power Rangers Saturday morning cartoon. If that was more complex, Venom would have been stellar. I think the reason Venom really did well was because, Tom Hardy's your lead. Second off is it's Venom. People have wanted to see Venom done right since Spider-Man 3. They were disappointed with that, and they want something better.
That's correct.
But if more complexity out of that story, and it's a stellar film. If this movie is more similar to Venom in its quality and overall style, and it's somewhat simplistic like that and formulaic, and I knew that going in, my score hypometer would be like a 6.5.
Okay. Fair enough.
You know?
Yeah.
But I'm at an 85 because I'm hoping that there's more substance there. It's more complex. There's more development. There's more tantalizingness, you know?
Right. He's trading in his purple Lamborghini for a couple of bats. That's all right. Jared Leto's going for that sweet comic book redemption, which we have seen plenty of times. This is not the first time we've seen this. They could probably do a whole episode on that, like watching Ben Affleck go from like Daredevil to Batman. There's more. Also, like Christian Bale is going to join like Thor: Love and Thunder. I hope he plays Beta Ray Bill.
Interesting.
Cool.
Christian Bale. I like the guy.
Christian Bale's great.
Anywho,
he's great. Yeah.
After those statements, I want to hear from the audience. You know, comment below or tweet at us. Would you agree, like Venom, good movie, but needed more substance and complexity to the overall plot? And is that what you want to see out of this one, or you're hoping for? What kind of things are you hoping for out of this movie that would make it worth buying a ticket for? I'm kind of curious. Yeah. I mean, would you agree, Jimmy? Is that what you kind of want out of this film? Something a little more grander, you know, on the level of like, you know, complexity to like some of these real class A films, like say, you know, even your Mission Impossibles, obviously not in the same vein, but you know, a movie like that, or even like one of the Lord of the Rings movies, you know, somewhat. I know you can't get to that level. That's like a real broad, large story and world, but even maybe a little more at least up to the scale of like one of the Spider-Man standalone movies.
Sure. Yeah.
And I would even argue that those are a hair simplistic for my taste, but they're good enough. They're teetering on that edge for me. And that's what I want out of this film.
Just give me a good flippin' villain. And I'm not saying that Venom's villain was the worst. I'm just saying I'm sick of this. And Marvel used to do this all the time. And Black Panther's even, like, everybody loves Black Panther. The villain, the character, the actor, so good. But the powers and stuff, you gotta make it different. I am so tired. Even since the first Iron Man, I was like, oh gosh, he's just fighting himself. Like, you wanna have your character, your hero, not only be like, well, I know how to overcome the weaknesses of my own abilities. It's like, okay, yeah, fine. But I like seeing it where it's completely different. That's why I think Mysterio really stands out in Far From Home, because you have somebody that's completely different than Spider-Man in how he, you know, engages in his abilities. So all I want really from Morbius is just a really compelling villain. I don't need just like a bunch of SWAT guys who are gonna die. Like that's perfectly fine, but I don't need like somebody at the very end of the movie who's like, if he can be a vampire, I can be a vampire. Like, I don't, please don't do that. Crap. Please, I beg you. But they'll probably do it because it's just how it goes. Like, it's not like
and would you agree that, you know, Venom, what was that like? It wasn't 2 hours long.
It was close. I think it was over 2 hours.
It felt short. No, it wasn't. Like, what's a Spider-Man movie? 2 hours?
Yeah, that's usually what it is. Venom runtime was 2 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it was.
Was it? Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, needless to say, don't make this a short film. Take your time with it. You know, an audience appreciates a good sit down with a movie if it's
just like good. If you want to do it right for Morbius, make it 3 hours. Make it the same length as Avengers Endgame. A lot of brooding, a lot of him like sitting somewhere, just like, what if I wasn't a vampire? And then he's like, but I am. Like, it's like
not all right. Now you're talking Man of Steel territory. But
I think we've talked about Morbius enough. I can't believe we talked about it this long, but I should have realized that it's dark and gritty and ominous, and it's right up your alley. But anyway, again, like Joe was saying, and I was going to say before too, please, I want to know what you guys think. Please comment below what you think of this. What you think of Venom? Tweet us. I really do want to know because I want to have a discussion about these things, or let us know in the Discord too. That'd be great. I want to talk about something else that's completely different, and because this week we're doing it a little bit differently and talking kind of, 200th episode, I wanted to kind of do a little bit of movie, a little bit of game. This week, I want to talk about the state of E3 2020, which I don't know if I did that correctly, but I took 2020. It was with my hands. If you guys are listening, you don't know what I'm talking about. But E3 2020. Uh, Kind of an interesting time because it sounds like Sony I think it's the second year. I want to say it's the second year. I think it's the second year in a row is opting out of being there. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean E3 is going to crumble and die? Oh no, probably not. But it is kind of unfortunate, and it does kind of make me sad because back in the day, it was kind of a lot of like, you'd see like the lines, like the battle lines would be drawn, and it'd be those pictures from E3. It was like Xbox on one side, PlayStation on the other, and it was like, oh my goodness, they're fighting for dominance. But now that that's kind of gone, and Nintendo would just kind of be like doing whatever Nintendo wants to do, because Nintendo's like, yeah, we do whatever we want. Kudos to them. It's great. It's clearly working for them. The Switch is like selling like hotcakes. But I do get a little sad because like the press conference is a fun thing and there's an art to it and it's fun to watch. It's fun to dissect. I think it's unlike any other form of entertainment that we have in this world, because it's not like Disney does, D23, and it's kind of a similar aspect where they talk about like, the theme parks and a bunch of that stuff. And then sometimes they'll do their movie panel and stuff, but it's not the same. Like you don't get the same kind of tension and tangibility. And I think there's so many devoted people that are there that you can start a trailer for 10 seconds in the dark and have someone talking and people like start to know what it is, or they start to kind of hypothesize. And I love that feeling. And this year it sounds like, with Microsoft kind of once again having that open field. Now obviously there'll still be like Ubisoft is still going to be there. I try to think of other ones like Square Enix will be there, I'm sure, in some capacity as well. I'm sure these have all been announced, but, I think of Xbox and Microsoft being like the creme de la creme, like they're like one of the big groups that's going to come and kind of show off, and will definitely show off the new Xbox, which is Xbox Series X, but they're just calling it Xbox, the Tower, which I still think they should have called the Obelisk, the Xbox Obelisk. I'm telling you, Phil, but I think, and we can hypothesize what they're going to show. Obviously, they're going to show Halo Infinite and things like that. But I want to talk about like Sony not being there. I'm sure they're going to do a press conference beforehand. I remember back in 2013 when they announced the PlayStation 4. It was back in May, I think, before they actually went to E3 with it. Joe, I know you aren't as like maybe into E3, and you've kind of gotten more into it in the past couple of years. But for me, I don't know, I'll kind of miss it. I loved kind of watching Sony kind of, bring it, and they'll probably still do that in their own kind of space and venue, and they'll still get enough eyeballs on whatever the PlayStation 5 reveal is going to be. They showed off the logo recently, which is like, yeah, like we kind of figured like they weren't going to like change it and be like, we won't call it the PlayStation 5, we'll call it the PlayStation Echo Box, or something like, be like, but I kind of miss that, and I feel like it kind of really forces other people to really bring it, like to bring their A game and just be like, or triple A game, I should say, and be like, okay, especially with a new console generation coming up, like this is the year, like you do your kind of press conference, or you do your press conference that's just games, like a month or two before you might show off like the hardware itself. And I'm sure they'll still kind of show that in the press conference, but I always love the idea of being like, all right, the specs are out, all that stuff's out, now it's just like 2 hours of just software, just games, just games. Like, here's what's coming in the first year, and then the next part is like, here's what's coming in the next 2 years or something. How do you feel about it? Even though I know you're more of a Microsoft guy, does this like make you feel like E3 is kind of lessened, or is it still like, yeah, this is fine, this is going to be okay?
I think it drops the whole thing a little bit. I think here's my reasoning behind that. Xbox on their own at E3. What Sony is doing, they're going to create they're trying to make their releases or their own conference type things seem more elite or prestigious on its own, and it's a big deal, so they want to be on their own, separate from any entity. We are Sony. This is our thing. This is our announcement. We're better than the general population, so to speak. I feel like that's the statement that's being made by what they're doing. So that being said, what's Xbox going to do on their end of things because of Sony's absence? Well, Sony's strategically going to do anything after that. They're going to time it so that they force Microsoft's hand. They got to do something when they're at E3. They can't just, wait it out. They got to do something there. So will Xbox's content at E3 be a little less because they're trying to, we want to be able to one-up Sony somehow. When they're both at the same conference, it's like they're trying to outdo each other, make their presentation more grand, right? Like, oh, look at what we got this year. And this way, I think Xbox is going to be like, let's kind of weed them a little bit. And, we can always do something, separate or have a little conference type dealio to kind of, but, like maybe they'll be a little bit more reserved, if that makes sense. Because, there's no doubt there's a competition there. The two top consoles always, and a little bit of competition.
Yeah.
And with Sony not being absent, I feel like there's a little bit of there's incentive for Microsoft to kind of hold back just a little bit because they want to one up each other. We want to be grander. And what Sony's doing right now, good on them. I mean, it's probably a smart move business wise. They're gonna center the attention on them, separate from all the noise and everything at E3, which makes it seem a little more prestigious and grand. And I feel like Xbox might even follow suit. Who knows? Maybe they'll still be present at E3, but what they do at E3 isn't as big of a deal as their own Microsoft announcement conference that they're going to do similar to Sony.
Maybe. I feel like if anything at this point, it'll be the opposite though. I think they're going to do what they did last year. I think they from the beginning of this console generation, that's kind of what they did, Joe. So Xbox came out and they're like, here's the Xbox One, and here's kind of like you can't trade games with friends or like all this stuff. And then Sony like made these funny little jokes and like undercut, I don't know if they undercut the price or whatever, but they also had all this stuff that was very reactionary to Xbox, and a lot of people loved that. So Xbox has kind of been digging themselves out of a hole for so long and trying to get themselves good publicity. And I think once again with the field wide open like this, they can fire everything because they probably do it with Sony there or without, because they still they realize that they're still out there, because even though they don't come to this thing, I think they're like, yeah, they're still out there, they're still making games, and they're still, they've got a new console coming up too. And Phil Spencer is a lover of all games, which is really cool. Kind of talking about he'll tweet it and be like, oh my gosh, like God of War is great, like I want God of War for Xbox. And I'm interested to see if this is the time that they come out with not only talking about Halo, but talk about new Fable as like their own kind of God of War answer, or a few different things to kind of show that off. And on top of that, because Gears of War came out this year, I think this is a perfect time for them to talk about what's coming up next. Because for Sony, a lot of it's like, all right, when are we going to get God of War 2? When are we going to get the next Spider-Man game? When are we going to get Horizon Zero Dawn 2? And a lot of their big games have already come out for this console or are coming out. So like The Last of Us Part 2 is coming out soon. Ghost of Tsushima will be coming out a little bit probably after E3. It said summer of 2020, so I don't know exactly when that's going to be. But I don't know if they're going to have such a stellar launch kind of group right now comparatively to Microsoft. And when these consoles launch, you have to like nowadays, I really think you have to have 2 or 3 just like bangers where it's just like, oh my gosh, like not the cross generation where it's like, oh yeah, you can play Gears 5 on Xbox One or the new Xbox. It has to be like brand new. If you're going to spend $500 on these things, $450 or whatever it's going to be, it needs to like really justify that. Because I think now that we've gotten to that a little bit more plateauing kind of as far as technical prowess goes with our gaming, where it's gone from standard definition to high definition, from 16-bit to 32-bit to 64-bit. It's you can't just be like, oh, look how pretty this game is. It's only 5 hours long, but it's super pretty. Like that doesn't work anymore. Like you have to be like, that's why Godfall, like on PS5, is like their kind of looter slasher. Where they're like, all right, hopefully that'll be a game that people pick up and really want to play with their friends, and will just kind of be continuous until the big first party titles come out for PlayStation. So I'm hoping that Microsoft brings it, but I agree with you though. It kind of makes E3 like a little bit like, oh, not as like, it's like a bunch of like different armies are showing up to a battle at the same time, and one of the biggest armies just stopped coming. Like each year they're like, yeah, no, that's fine. And you're like, well, no, come on, guys. And they're like, I don't want to. You're like, oh, like, or it's like the Olympics, like just one big nation just stopped coming. You're like, oh, okay. It's like, all right, man. If you don't want to play with us, that's fine. It is kind of saddening, but yeah, they'll still do their own press conference, I'm sure, and they'll try to show off some things to make people really excited about the PlayStation 5. But I think they really have to try, especially after the Game Awards kind of showing off the new Xbox, and then last E3 saying like Halo Infinite was coming. Like launching with a Halo, I think is really smart. Like I keep saying that, and I know it makes sense because it's Xbox, but it's just like for me, as someone who's become a more recent Halo fan, and Joe, you a little bit too, but I just feel like that is going to be tough to beat come time when both those consoles come out, this holiday season. I want PlayStation to do really well though, because it's just that competition makes them stronger. I just don't want them to keep pulling away and pulling back from all these kind of these affairs where there could be that kind of like, oh, like, hey, I saw your press conference, that's pretty good, and you're like, oh, you wait till tonight, buddy, kind of thing. Like I love that. That's good. It's tangible, So I don't know. I know there's been a lot of people who are kind of nervous about it, or people are kind of saddened by it, and it just means that probably in the future we'll see if Sony comes back. Maybe Sony's done with E3 forever. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just taking 2 years off. They didn't feel like they have anything to show, and they don't want to waste people's time. Maybe that's it too. Maybe all their games are just in development right now, and they're like, we can't, like, there's not enough to show you yet because it's going to be 3 or 4 years before this game comes out. Like coming eventually. Like that would be after. It's like God of War 2 coming sometime. Like don't worry about it when it's done. Finish the games when they're done. Yeah, but I just want to bring that up briefly because I thought it was interesting, and 2 years in a row now, especially after their last press conference, which was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. And I love a good press conference that's just so weird. And Sony's, that was the one where they moved, Joe, if you remember, they moved all the people from place to place, and they had different like areas to view different like game footage and stuff. And they had like a panel in the middle, like a 15 or 20 minute panel of people just talking. It was so weird. Whereas like I think like Microsoft and Xbox got the memo a few years ago, and they're like, you want games? We're gonna show you freaking 60 new games, and they might not all be like crazy, but like here we go. And it's just like, whoa guys, you're showing off a lot there. Also, I've heard the rumors, we're still waiting to hear about this, but Assassin's Creed I'm excited to see more about, because the rumor is Viking and also co-op open worlds.
Oh.
That'd be kind of cool, right? I don't know. I'm just saying. That'd be
better direction if you ask me.
Joe's like, maybe. Vikings, they're known for their assassinations. They just love assassinating people. Yeah, that's so cool. Anyway, that's kind of all I have as far as the topics go for today, but I do want to take a moment. I don't know if we should save it for the end. No. Wait, yes. We'll save it for the end. Yes, we will. But
now they're all on the edge of their seat. Like, what is it? We gotta listen till the end.
That's right. You gotta listen to the end. But you know what it's time for, Joe? It's that segment that I like to call, that you like to call, that we all like to call
Time Killers.
That's right. It's time for Time Killers. It's the games we've been playing, the movies we've been watching, the TV shows we've been doing. Joe, hit me with it, baby.
Most recently, Netflix. Yeah, I use it once in a while.
Occasionally.
I went back and watched myself a little classic. Dracula.
Oh, the new one?
The new one.
And
it's not a classic, but
it's the new one. It's not a classic.
I saw it, and I'm like, the word Dracula got me right away. I'm like, what? Netflix made an original Dracula miniseries.
Yeah, BBC.
Yeah, it was all British.
I love it. Downton Abbey, Unite. Was that BBC? Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, I think so. Anywho, I went and I watched it. Had to. Good. I was curious. And boy, I was sucked in. Long episodes. We're talking like hour and a half, hour 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's like Sherlock.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Which intimidates me too much. I'm like, an hour and a half for an episode? What?
I recommend you watch it. It's good. It's edge of your seat type stuff. It's pretty. It's trippy, man. It's cool.
I heard the first 2 episodes are good, and the 3rd episode's weird.
Oh wow!
Nailed it. Beat you to it.
My review.
That's
the
right.
First 2 episodes, magnificent. Like I was hooked. I watched them all in one night.
What happened?
Here's the reason why the third one sucked. First two were back in the past. Dracula.
Good pun.
The third one jumped ahead to the future.
Oh,
sucked.
Dracula Untold style at the end. The game is on.
Yeah, only you got the content, and it was horrible. It was jarring. It was jarring and annoying.
I wonder why they did
it. It might not have been horrible if they didn't make it so weird.
Okay.
You know, they kind of established the whole he's trying to make a bride and trying to reproduce.
Okay.
Just some way. And they don't show that off, him trying to make kids, right? But you know, that's what they allude to throughout. And at the end, the way he tries to do it and some of the shit that happens, it just gets out there, man. It's weird. And yeah, they ruined it with that.
Is there only 3 episodes?
Yes. But the first 2 episodes, it's still worth watching, like big time.
Okay.
Like if you ended it with the second one, I think you'd be happy.
Yeah.
Because technically it does kind of have a conclusion to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
And if you segregate that 3rd episode, you'll feel good about it. Quality's there, the acting's there. It's all very well done, and it has that complex feeling that I talk about.
I like it.
Where it's got substance. And it keeps you... I was enthralled. Like I said, I binged it in one night. And, you know, do I wish I would have rather went to bed when the 3rd episode started? Yeah. But the first two and a half, 3 hours were great.
Cool.
Really cool. So I recommend it. Just, you know, watch the 3rd episode and then forget about it.
Caveat.
So you know what happens. Yeah,
leave it on in the background
you
when
gotta
you're
suffer through the
cleaning or something.
Yeah. But well done, really cool style and everything. Awesome. There's some grotesque and weird moments, and it's somewhat convoluted, but not really, and I just enjoy it a lot.
Fair enough. And you were playing Call of Duty still?
Oh yeah, I've been playing Call of Duty.
His name is Big Diesel. He loves to play Call of Duty.
Yeah. My name is Big Diesel. I like to play Call of Duty.
Likes it a lot. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, that means it's time for my time killers. Man, I've been playing Battlefront 2 by myself now, which is ironic. I've been playing against regular people. I was, at first I was doing only AI. So Star Wars Battlefront 2, a very divisive game, 2017, but it's become much better. It's like I got it for like $12. I think Levi gave it to me, and thank you for Levi. Thank you for that. But yeah, I started playing and I started like sniping people. Which felt real good, and I was just kind of messing around, playing that occasionally. I haven't really made time for a lot of games lately, which is kind of sad. I wanted to get back to it, but I just kind of ended up the year with making a bunch of different reviews, so check those out, please. But yeah, mostly that, and then I finished up Fate Apocrypha, which is one of the in the long series kind of the Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works or Fate Zero. It's just this kind of the contests to fight for the Holy Grail, this anime that it was okay. I think I still like Fate Zero the best. I kind of watch these shows for the fights, but sometimes some of the episodes it's them talking like the whole time. I'm like, guys, I didn't come here for this. Like you're back to the fighting. So yeah, interesting show, but I've been kind of hanging out in the old Disney Plus, obviously watching Star Wars and catching up on all that stuff before for the show, and then obviously we're going on a trip here, which we'll talk about in a minute, I'm sure. But I have been watching Gargoyles, which is a show that is so weird, and I remember thinking as a kid it gets really weird and really mystical, but it is actually really well done, and it keeps my attention pretty thoroughly throughout a lot of the episodes. But if you had to describe it to somebody, like even one episode or just show a moment out of context, it is so weird. And I don't know why he develops this, but there's the end of one episode where one of the gargoyles, Broadway, is eating jalapenos, and he gets Goliath, the main gargoyle, to try one, and he screams out jalapeno, and like it ends with that as an echo. But then in another episode, he said it as almost if it was a curse word, but he said jalapena, and I had to like go back and put the subtitles on because he was like jalapeno, like I was like, what? Like Goliath's new catchphrase, or like no, he's like oh, curses, you know. And it's just such a wacky show, and I really do enjoy it because it came out when I was about 4 or 5. So, you know, going back to it, I'm like, wow, there's a lot in here. And you could tell that the showrunners made it very complex. Like there's a very interesting storyline. It's almost Game of Thronesy too, because they shoot back to Scotland back in like 994 AD. And there's a lot of like people betraying each other, trying to seize like power and trying to be the king and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is a lot for a kid show. So kudos to them. And also Elisa Maza, I'm pretty sure she was the first crush I ever had before I even had crushes on women. I was like watching the show again, I'm like, Elisa's pretty great. Like she's this like no nonsense cop who just is not fazed by anything anymore, and I love her. She's very good. She keeps people grounded. So her weird relationship with Goliath, will they, won't they? I don't remember. She does turn into a gargoyle for at least one episode, and even as a kid, I remember thinking, I was like, oh, she's a pretty gargoyle. I was like, because they didn't really have female gargoyles until they introduced Angela later on in the show. Spoiler alert, who she looks like Demona, who is like the only female gargoyle for the most part that you see. There's like 1 or 2 others, but she has the coloration of Goliath. And Elisa asks him about this. She's like, so Goliath, like I kind of noticed that she looks like your old flame / like frenemy / supervillain, but she has your coloration or a different coloration. And Goliath just says the eggs for the gargoyles are shared by like the whole clan, and he just kind of waves it away, and it still doesn't like answer the real main point of how gargoyles like reproduce, and how like it was just like I'm sitting there as adult Jimmy like, so is that like his daughter? Like I think it probably is, but maybe they're all like his daughters and sons. Like these are the questions that like Elisa like legitimately wanted to know if that was like his kid, and he kind of was like, they're all kind of my kids, we're all brothers and sisters. It's like, yeah, dude, no, like you gotta come on. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, it was pretty funny. And poor Elisa, she's just running around with a pistol most of the time trying to shoot at like magical creatures. She's like, I don't know what's going on. So good on you, Elisa. I like you. I think that's pretty much it for Time Killers. So that means we get to move into my personal favorite segment of the show, community feedback.
And question.
That's correct. Let me do the old timestamp right now before I forget. There we go. Joe, we had a lovely question come in from one of our faithful, one of our great legionnaires, Mr. Fragaden.
Indubitably.
Bringing it up right here. And it was such a good question. I loved it so much. This question comes in. He says, #critical podcast. That's a great way to get a hold of us. He said, with all the big titles we expect to see this year release on current gen, just before the new and improved consoles release from their respective companies, kind of like what we were talking before. He says, is it a missed opportunity for a historic launch? Would we rather have seen games like Gears of War 5, Gears 5, The Last of Us Part 2, Cyberpunk 2077 officially launch with our brand new shiny consoles? Of course, we know backwards compatibility will be available, so it is likely we can continue to play these titles on the next-gen consoles. However, does that sit well with the panel, playing primarily last-gen games on their next-gen console for the first year? That's a great question, Fragaden. I really like that one. Joe, do you have any feelings towards that, my friend?
I'm really getting chill here. Did they ever talk about, like, are they optimized for the new consoles? The games? Like Cyberpunk, for instance.
I don't know. I think it's kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of Grand Theft Auto 5, where what Rockstar used to like to do, and I'm not saying they always do this, but they kind of would launch sometimes near the end of a console generation and just use the absolute most power of that console, and then you'd wait like a year or whatever, and then they kind of, up it for the new gen consoles. And I'm sure we're gonna see a lot of that this time around for sure. Like The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, if that doesn't come out on PlayStation 5, like they will have a version that comes to it. right? Like I could see Xbox being like, yeah, you can play Gears 5 on your Xbox, your new Xbox, but I could see Sony being like, yeah, you got to rebuy this game like for the new
like
system.
I don't know how easy that is. Are they
I
able to
don't.
just like go back and change some numbers and up the graphical
I think it's more than that.
prowess?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
The
part
question
of
is,
me,
yeah.
they got to be building these games with the next gen consoles in mind, similar, like you said, with Rockstar and Grand Theft.
Yeah.
I would feel like they're trying to max them out to the current gen's capabilities with the next gen in mind, thinking it'll make it a little better. That's a good question, though. Something like Cyberpunk, which I feel like is really getting hyped.
Yeah.
That would have been a good one
Oh
for,
my.
say, PlayStation.
No.
Something.
Like not even I don't even need it to be exclusive. How crazy would it have been if they like the new consoles launched and that was just like a launch game for both platforms? Like you'd be like, oh my gosh, like that right there. People would be like, this is what new games are like just this crazy, just over the top, huge world, really technical. And they're like, yeah, these are the techs of the new. That's like the new specs of the new machine. Like, ooh, ooh, that would have been. I kind of wish it would have. Like, I'm excited that game's coming out, but at the same time, it would have been nice to see that, like, that launch would have been crazier than any launch.
I kind of agree.
Most launches, right?
Kind of agree, but Xbox isn't worried. They've got Halo, so they're not worried one bit.
Do you think they should have pushed Gears 5?
No.
Okay. Yeah,
you don't want to.
Halo. Well, you don't want to cannibalize the sales, right? You don't want people to choose because people are going to choose more often than not probably Halo over Gears. And I love Gears more than Halo, but I understand that. I'm like, yeah, if you got a new console, you wouldn't want that. But
which one has the most numbers? Halo all day.
Do you think and it's a lot of got to get return on investment too? Would it have been smart though to say, all right, Halo's coming out 2020 holiday, Gears 5 comes out summer 2021? Just to keep people, or spring 2021. They're like, yeah, it's coming out then. Do you think that would have worked?
Yeah, I mean, staggering them one way or another, but
yeah, I get it. I think for Microsoft, it makes sense that they're not going to do that. For Sony, I'm very interested to see if we're going to get the up-resed versions, quote unquote, of like The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima right away, or if that's going to be a little bit into it. And they're going to kind of focus more on, like I said, Godfall or whatever else they might announce for that kind of launch.
They do that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure they will, because that's a nice way to like make more money on it. And they'll be like, hey, remember The Last of Us Part 2? It's an incredible game. It got 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 or whatever. But it also is even more pretty than last time. I don't know if taking a game like, so Halo, it makes sense, right? Because Halo's got a tie into Xbox and they kind of have that relationship. If Sony were to launch with God of War 2 or Horizon Zero Dawn 2 or something like that, I wonder if some people would see that as being like, oh, it was compromised. Like, they weren't far enough into this new console generation to completely understand all the aspects of it yet. And maybe there's kind of that feeling behind it too. Like like I said with Grand Theft Auto 5, like it's like you wait till the end of that console generation and push it as far as you possibly can. I don't know. I'm not sure. I just I'd love to have more killer games, especially third-party games like that, or maybe the new Assassin's Creed. Maybe that new one will launch with these new consoles and it will be exclusive to the new ones. And it will be like, yeah, it doesn't work on Xbox One or PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
That would be pretty neat. Like, I would be all about that. I'd be like, good for you guys, because it's like with Persona 5, Joe. I know you didn't play it, but it was a game that they also had on PlayStation 3 and 4. So to me, it felt somewhat compromised in some of the ways in which you played the game. It seemed kind of basic in some ways. So I just want them to just really push it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want them to be like, yeah, we tried to make it for cross-platform or, multi-generations there. Yeah. I don't know. That's a tricky one. Oh, it's a good question. I love it so much because I see both sides, right? Because you see like the money aspect is like they got to keep making money from these things. But what if like The Last of Us Part 2 would have launched with the new console? They'll probably still do it. They'll probably still make like the Game of the Year edition. Yeah, that's a great question, Frankenton. And again, there's no necessarily right or wrong answer. It's just the way it's going to move forward. I would love to know what people think about that. And the hashtag this week. will it have anything to do with that, or should we just do like a hashtag for just a Critical Podcast being 200 episodes old? What do you think?
Yeah, let's do something around 200. Century is 100 years.
Yes.
The 2-century mark.
The
2-century mark.
The 2-century mark. Hashtag 2-century mark. We're not 200 years old.
200 up.
We can just hashtag 200.
No.
It's too boring. It's okay.
CR 200.
Or how about CP 200? Because it's the podcast.
Okay. I'm down.
Okay. Hashtag CP 200 or CR 200. If you tweet either of us that, we'll be really appreciative. We'll talk about all that stuff, but I want to talk about something first, what I was kind of alluding to before. We've been doing this show for a long time now, or I have, Joe has. We've been here every week. 200 weeks. Think about that for a second. Sometimes we've had to double up. I know in 2018, I had to kind of double up because I was gone in Florida for one of those, and we might have to do something like that again coming up here. I have a really fun idea that the Easy Allies actually used recently, and I was like, dang, they beat me to it. But we'll try to have, I'm gonna bring my mom on the show. Joe. I don't know if you'll be there for that, but I've wanted to do this for a while. I think she'd be a good guest. I think she has a lot to say about movies and games and stuff. She was a huge Harrison Ford fan for a long time. We got stories to tell. But anyway, I just want to thank everybody who's been watching this. I know that there isn't... it's not the biggest show on the internet by far, and we're working on making an audio version of it so you don't have to just watch it here on YouTube. You'll be able to listen to it hopefully on Spotify and stuff moving forward. So I'm so sorry it's taken us so long to get to that point, but I really appreciate everyone who's hung out this long and who's been here throughout all of this. And there have been a few people who have, and you guys are the reason this show exists, really, truly. And I always want people to let us know how we can make the show better and what we could do to do that. And I have a lot of fun future plans coming up, which includes a few trips. The first of which is by the time you're watching this, I will be either in the air or down in Florida with this guy. Right there. There he is. And it's going to be...
Big old DW, baby.
It's going to be a heck of a time. WDW. And we're going there with his wife and my sister, Katie, who you guys have probably seen her pop in once in a while here. And it's going to be really fun. And I'm really looking forward to it. And there's another trip after that even. So I don't know how these trips got all like smushed together for me. That's how it happened. All right. And it was thanks to...
There's a concert in there too, I believe.
There's a concert in there too. And it's a big thanks to, Joe, thank you for coming with me. And it's only possible because my family is kind of a gift for my birthday and Christmas to kind of go and do this. And I'm very grateful and very humble for that. And I can't wait. It's like going home. And also it's today I believe is the 45th birthday of Space Mountain, my personal favorite, one of my personal favorite rides, maybe my favorite ride in Walt Disney World, maybe it's top 3 for sure. And I'm very, very happy about that. I was gonna get a shirt, but I was like, I might just wait for the 50th. Like I was like looking at it, I was like, it'd be weird to have just like 45th, just like I just have that shirt forever. We'll figure it out when I get down there. Anyway. I also kind of tweeted out about this, but thank you to all the guests who've been on the show. I don't know if any of them would be watching this, but in case they are, thank you so much. You guys, I have absolutely adored getting to sit down and talk with all of you. It's so weird. There's a few especially that I feel like I've just been friends with forever. It's kind of like when I talk to you, Joe, there's been a few people I've had on the show where it's getting to like the 3-hour mark. And I'm like, we should probably wrap this up. But it's just like someone I could talk to them all the time. And I love this format of the internet, being able to bring people together that normally would never have met just because of the geography of the planet, and I love, getting to talk to all of you guys who are from all over the world. It's been a pleasure if you're a guest or if you're just a listener and just getting to talk to you in the Discord and Twitter and all that. So I appreciate it so much, and we're not stopping the show. No, we're not. And I don't know if it'll be for every week for another 200 episodes. It's really going to depend on some of my big life changes. which sounds so dire, doesn't it? Like life changes. Oh my gosh. But that just means there might be a new background, or the show might change completely. But don't worry, I'll still be here, and Joe probably will be too. It might just be less frequent, or we're not sure. But just stay tuned with us, and let us know. But you can find us at Go Critical. Or am at JimmyGood013 over on Twitter. So you just tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast, and that's how you can get a hold of me. I always love GIFs. I love funny GIFs. If you got like a Star Wars GIF, I love a Star Wars GIF. I love it. But Joe, if they want to tweet you, where can they find you?
At Lever_627. That's Lever just like Beaver, only with an L.
Exactly. And thank you. Levi's name's probably popping up there too. But thank you, Joe. You've been just an excellent co-host, and you've been on a few times even with guests, and we've always had a pretty good time. It's been really fun.
Indubitably.
I hope it's been fun for you too.
Conversations we would normally have either way.
Yeah.
We just like to record it for the general populace.
Yeah, and because we're such a small channel, Joe and Levi do this pretty much out of the kindness of their hearts, and the money that I've gotten, via pretty much everybody here who's been watching, and most so I should say through Patreon, because we're not to the point yet where we can do ads on the channel, which is fine, but because it's ads are so weird. But that's how they got the mics and the cameras and stuff, is thanks to you guys. So like the reason the quality of the show hopefully has gone slightly up over time and switched from an audio only format to a video and audio format, and maybe an audio version again later on, is because of you guys. So thank you so much, and a huge thank you to This Is Daleb, who did the music for our intro and outro that's been playing for so long. Thank you to Yoren Evers for doing all the crazy art, pretty much all the art you see on the channel besides the Steven Purifoy stuff. He is so good. Please check him out. He's at Jade Circle Art as well, or at Niraj28 on Twitter. And he's a talented guy. Please go ask him if he could do a commission for you, because I have commissioned art. You can't see. It's up on my it's up on my wall there. It's
high on the wall.
It's Venom.
Most prominent place.
Yeah, it's Venom versus Green Goblin. I'll just show him. Right? It's probably gonna get some lamp in there too. Oh, yep. It's back there. Just trust me. Just trust me on it. Don't worry about it. But I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I hope we've been able to not only entertain you, but educate you a little bit on the goings on in the world. And we are not the fastest news group by far, and we're kind of changing up the format to doing maybe like a movie or a TV show per episode. And some people I almost said like Jar Jar Binks, people really be responded well to that. No, people seem to be responding in a positive way to such things. And if you want to see more of that kind of thing, I think we're going to continue to do that. We'll see how it goes. But I appreciate it. And here's to many, many more episodes. And again, if you ever want to see a guest or somebody like that on the show that you can think of, even if it's someone that's been on before or someone that is brand new, never hesitate. Even if it's like a super big celebrity, my thought is if we get a few likes and retweets, Dwayne Johnson will come on. Just for funsies. You just gotta keep trying. So please tweet The Rock for me, Dwayne Johnson. Just for fun. Like, you just want to know what that guy, if he's been playing video games or if he'll just eat sushi and talk to me. And he'll just be like, I don't have time for games. So I'll be like, good. I'll be like, you were in that Doom movie. Remember Doom? You feel like we're not talking about it. That'd be great. But yeah, so many more fun things to come, and some kind of changes to the Patreon and the channel moving forward. And I kind of discussed it on Twitch a few days ago. But kind of more of a focus, maybe more so on the wish lists and things, the videos that track better. Not that we won't continue to do reviews, but they might be lessened, substantially, but also maybe more so here on the show, where we can kind of get Joe's opinions and potentially Levi's opinions or other people's opinions on these things as well, because there's so many people doing reviews out there. Joe, when we started this channel, I mean, people were doing a lot of reviews, but I was like, reviews is in our name, so we will always do reviews of some sort. Eventually, it's probably just going to be me reviewing old podcasts of myself, which seems kind of both redundant, a waste of time, and also maybe a little bit narcissistic, but still, I'll be like, as you can see in my first few episodes, I was a horrible host, and I eventually got better. It's like, but only marginally so. But remember, everybody, the critical reviews, critical. Look at that second definition on Google. We're looking at both the faults and the merits of a thing. We're passionate people. We love this stuff. Like, legitimately, my walls are just covered. Like, look at that's Kylo Ren over there. It's Kylo. That's
Kilo Ren.
Kilo Ran, everybody. And that's Wolverine. Look at him. I love him. It's Hugh Jackman.
It's Wolverine.
It's Wolverine. Like a fine brine in the summertime. just put him in there. Just put the cap on. Oh my gosh, we're nuts. But last, I've said it like a billion times, but thank you guys so much for being here, for listening in. I appreciate you guys. I really do care about all of you, and please let us know.
Appreciate it.
We see, there's Joe's exactly. We do. I like to speak for myself. I've gotten in trouble speaking for other people, like my friend Dwayne the Rock Johnson. He loves this show. I'm sure if he ever saw it, maybe, probably not. I don't know. I can't speak for him. I'm not him. That way his lawyers can't come after me. Please, Dwayne, don't. But yeah, this has been really fun, and I hope the show has adapted and overcome in time and gotten even better. But please let us know if we can make it any better. If it's audio, if it's visual, whatever it is, let me know. Sometimes I look like even more like a pale ghost than I already am. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Feedback is important.
Feedback, constructive criticism, baby. I feast on it. I'm a vibe vampire. I feast on it like Morbius, but I won't bite you. I really won't, unless you want me to. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to bite you. Anyway, Joe, last time, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Anything you want to say before we sign off here tonight?
I do not. I think you capped it off fairly well.
Thank you, as succinctly as I possibly can by saying the words thank you so many times. But thank you. And until next time, just remember to adapt and overcome. That's 200 episodes, baby. Woo! All right. Now that's
a 15-minute long outro.
200 episodes. Well, that's okay. I tried to keep up with your Morbius review. So it's 200 episodes, and now that curse has lifted that old witch put on me, I don't have to make any more. So I'm done. I'm done unless she curses me again with another 200. That would be really bad, wouldn't it?
What?